Zagaboo, where are you? Tug your ear and he'll be there. Zagaboo, Zagaboo, where are you? Tug your ear and he'll be there.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Scenes with Zagaboo. You're going to notice something a little different. This time, I'm wearing a headset. That's because I listened to the sound quality on the last Behind the Scenes that I did, and it didn't sound very good. So I thought this time, because I'm going to be doing something very special for you today, I wanted the sound to be extra good. And by the way, these look pretty cool, don't they? Look, so you can see some of the flashing lights on there. Anyway, these were given to me by my son so that I can make the recording today. That was very nice of him. You'll remember him, Charlie. Anyway, I am going to be doing, like I said, something very special. I'm going to be reading my book, The Legend of Zagaboo, to you. And the reason why I'm doing that is because in these behind-the-scenes episodes, you have to kind of know a little bit about Zagaboo, and I realized that not everyone has read the books yet. So if you haven't, this is an opportunity for me to read the books to you and for you to understand a little bit about Zagaboo and learn about him and his stories so that it makes sense when I talk to you about behind the scenes. And when I say behind the scenes, I mean, what the first illustrations look like. For example, this is the first drawing of the cover of the Legend of Zagaboo book. Changed quite a bit, didn't it? Anyway, I figure you guys will really enjoy that. So I'm going to show you how we made the book, how we did the writing, what kind of ideas we came up with along the way. But I'm not going to read the whole book to you in one sitting in this one episode. In this episode of Behind the Scenes, I'm going to read just the beginning part of the book, and then I'm going to do a behind the scenes look at just the beginning of the book. In the next episode, I'm going to read the second part and show you behind the scenes for that part. And then I'm going to finish with a third episode where I finish the book. So we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be 3 full episodes. And then I'm going to read the next book for you guys as well. Anyway, if you guys are ready to go on this journey with me and read the book, The Legend of Zagaboo, cheer!
Yay!
Wait a minute, we got to do better than that. Here we go. Let's try again. Come on, guys. We can do one more time. Here we go. And yeah, good job. Okay, here we go. The Legend of Zagaboo. A long time ago, there lived a young farm boy named Jack. Jack wanted to help his mommy and daddy take care of the horses, chickens, pigs, and cows. However, Jack was scared of the animals and often hid in the big red barn behind the house where he could be alone and do what he loved best, carve wooden toys. One late afternoon, Mommy and Daddy were worried they wouldn't get all the farm work done before sundown. Although they knew Jack was afraid of the animals, they asked if he could help milk a few cows. Jack wanted to help so badly, but the cows seemed so big and scary. Jack knew he could milk the cows. He had seen his parents do it hundreds of times, but he was too afraid to try. Jack started to cry. He turned and ran for the big red barn. Mommy started to follow him, but Daddy stopped her. "He'll be fine, sweetheart," Daddy said. "He just needs a little time alone. However, I hope he learns how to overcome his fears soon. We're going to need his help more and more around the farm." Jack, in the meantime, had gone to his work area. He picked up a chisel from his toolbox and began carving a chunk of walnut wood. Tears streamed down his face and plopped onto the wooden carving. As Jack whittled away, he wondered why he was scared of the animals. He didn't want to be afraid. Jack was an excellent woodworker, and carving always made him feel better. Because he was very upset that day, Jack worked extra hard to make his toy perfect. After a while, the lump of wood began to resemble a person, but it had long, pointy ears, a big round nose, and enormous feet. Jack was carving a troll, his favorite fairy tale creature. When he finished, Jack realized the troll was his best carving ever. "You are my magical troll," he declared, wiping the last tears from his face. "All you need now is a magical staff." Jack picked up a broken twig and glued it to the troll's hand. Then he plucked a purple marble from his toolbox and pasted it on top of the twig. Jack sat down on a pile of hay. He stared at the finished troll. "Huh, you're going to need a name. I'm going to call you—" Jack paused for a moment. "Zagaboo!" Jack liked the name because it was really weird and started with a Z, his favorite letter. No one else in the world would have the name Zagaboo. It was a special name for a very special troll. Forgetting his troubles, Jack raced out of the barn with Zagaboo. "Mommy, Daddy," he yelled, "look at what I made." Jack's parents turned and saw Jack running toward them with something in his hand. "What do you have there?" said Daddy. "This is Zagaboo. He's my magical troll," Jack responded, trying to catch his breath. Jack's parents looked with amazement at the little troll. They loved Zagaboo's big feet, huge nose, and pointy ears. "You are so talented, Jack," said Mommy. "What kind of magic does Zagaboo do?" "Zagaboo makes me brave. I can do anything when Zagaboo is with me. Watch." Jack sat down next to the biggest cow on the farm. He placed Zagaboo next to him and began milking the cow. His parents couldn't believe it. Jack wasn't afraid anymore. Zagaboo really was magic. From that day on, Jack and Zagaboo were best friends. They went everywhere and did everything together. Jack took Zagaboo with him to feed the pigs, to clean up after the horses, and to work on his other chores. Jack also took Zagaboo to school, to play sports, and to go out onto the playground with his friends. One day, Jack went into town with Daddy. Town was far away, and they had to go through the woods to get there. Jack used to be afraid of the woods. He had heard they were filled with tree ghosts and wild animals with special powers. However, Jack wasn't scared that day. He had Zagaboo with him. In fact, Jack was even brave enough to help Daddy steer the horses. In town, Jack and Daddy ran many errands. They delivered milk, eggs, and ham to the grocery stores, and picked up feed for the cows, as well as firewood to burn in the coming winter. When they were done, Jack and Daddy climbed into their cart and headed back home. Jack felt great about how much he had helped, but he was so exhausted that he immediately fell asleep. It was dark in the forest, and Daddy didn't see a large rock on the path. As the cart rolled over the rock, Zagaboo bounced out and fell onto the ground. Daddy didn't realize Zagaboo was gone, so he did not stop the cart. Jack was so tired that he did not wake up. The horses kept trotting down the path, leaving Zagaboo far behind. Okay, guys, that's the end of the first part of the book. Stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look right now at what we just read. We just finished the story, and now I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it took to make the story, to do the illustrations, to come up with some ideas. This is a really fun part because a lot of people, they read the books and they like the books, but they don't really know what gets involved in how to make the book. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. First, I want to show you something that I think you'll find pretty interesting. in my Legend of Zagaboo book, I was the first one to sketch the cover page, even though Alan Boyles, my illustrator at the time, made this into what it is now, this great looking illustration, this picture. You want to see what it looked like first? I think I already showed you, as a matter of fact. Here we go. What do you think? Pretty good, huh? That's why I'm the author, not the illustrator. But I really enjoyed drawing this picture. And the reason why I sketch out the first picture instead of letting somebody else do it is because I'm the author. I came up with all the ideas, and I have an idea in my mind about what I want the picture to look like. So what I'll do is I'll sketch it out first, and I'll put Zagaboo over here or over here, and then I'll put Twitch. You remember Twitch, of course. I wanted him in the front because he's a big part of the story. And then I wanted the big magical tree in the background. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that tree was special. So we had all the important characters and the magical tree in here in the forest. And that's why I did it first, to make sure that it looked exactly the way I wanted it to. But let me get into how we did this story. So as we all know, the story starts with words. And as you can see here, this is the first page of the book. Now you can see Zagaboo actually looks a little different in this picture. You can see how early on we were in the creative process. I don't even think we were doing illustrations really at that time, just kind of designing our characters. But I spent several months actually writing this story. Even though it's not a very long story, I wanted to make sure that it was fun and that kids enjoyed it. And I had to come up with the ideas of how was Zagaboo made, how did he come to life, all of that. So I went ahead and I came up with all those ideas, and I put it together into this story. And I wrote it all down on my computer, type. And then what I needed to do was figure out what page everything was going to go on to. So that's what these numbers mean. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wanted all of the words on page 4 to go with a certain picture. So page 4, let me see here, is forgetting his troubles, Jack raced out of the barn with Zagaboo. Let's see. Ah, yes. Here we go. Page 4. Forgetting his troubles, Jack raced out of the barn with Zagaboo. And I took that chunk of words and I put it with this particular illustration. And they all needed to go together perfectly, because if I put these words on this page, it wouldn't go with the picture, and that wouldn't be any good. Speaking of pictures, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these pictures. All right, I'm gonna show you the very first illustrations that were made, and then what they turned into, and maybe some of the issues that we ran into along the way. Okay, here we go. So this is the very first illustration I made of the first 2 pages of the book, The Legend of Zagaboo. Now you'll remember that this is the part where we meet Jack, and Jack is scared of milking the cow, and so he runs up into the barn, his favorite place, and that's where he carves Zagaboo. In this particular illustration, I wanted to get very creative, and I wanted to put some of the text up on the top, so that's some of the words on the top, and I wanted to put some of the words on the other page on the bottom. This is the middle of the page right here, so this is actually one page here, and this is one page over here. So it's what I call a 2-page spread. So let me show you here. When you look at it in the book, this is what it looks like. It's 2 pages. 1, 2. And as you can see, I ended up not putting the text up on the top and then one down on the bottom. I decided to keep everything down on the bottom. It became too complicated for me to do it one on top and one on the bottom. Some authors do that. They're better at doing that stuff than I am, so I decided, nope, I like having the words just on the bottom. It makes it easier for me to put the pictures and the illustrations all in one area right on the top. And so that's what I did. Let's look at what this illustration turned out to actually be, which you just saw actually with my book. So it went from this here to this. Did a really great job, Alan did on this. This actually changed a few times. He made the trees initially a lot bigger, and I asked him to make them smaller. And let's see. And then he had some chickens over here that Jack ran through, and I asked him to take those out because I didn't want Jack scaring the animals. And then we've got Jack's parents here, and you can see the dad wearing the hat and the mom wearing a nice modest dress. And the clothing ideas actually came from a show that I used to watch a long time ago. It's called Little House on the Prairie. I think that's what it is. And here's a picture of the family that I sent my illustrator. And you can see you've got the dad with the hat, just like this. You've got the mom wearing a nice modest dress, just like mom here. No cows in this picture, but everybody knows what a cow looks like. They haven't changed over the years too much. So anyway, that's where we came up with the ideas for how we wanted the people to look. Now, also, this takes place, as you recall, from the very first line in the book, which says, let's see here. A long time ago, there lived a young farm boy named Jack. Now, Jack was around back in the late 1890s. That's like 120 something years ago. That was a long time ago. So we had to have the characters look like they dressed that long ago, 120 years ago. They wouldn't be wearing sunglasses and carrying around cell phones. Let's see. All right, let's move on to the next page. This is where Jack's in the barn. All right, so this was the first illustration I made for this page. Sorry, that was my phone. For this page, and I wanted the horses in the stalls sitting across from Jack as Jack carved Zagaboo. And I think my illustrator did a great job. These horses look great. On my illustration, and now that I look back at it, these three horses right here look like King Kong's fingers or something, trying to climb up over the wall, and he's going to eat Jack or something. That's what it looks like to me when I look at this picture now. It makes me laugh. But this illustration wasn't perfect to begin with. We had to color it. First had to draw it and then had to color it. So it actually looked a little bit like this. So this is still a good illustration, but you didn't have any good shadows yet. Shadows make an illustration, a picture, look so much better. So this is what it looked like before we put the shading in there. And then this is what it looked like after. That's a pretty big difference, isn't it? So when you think about how important shade is in a picture, just look at this picture and you'll realize it is very, very important. All right, moving on to the next illustration. Okay, now this one's fun. This was where we get to see Zagaboo for the very first time. He's carved out of wood, and he's being held by Jack, and Jack is very excited. So because he just carved Zagaboo. Now, initially, when my illustrator made this picture, it kind of made me chuckle because he gave Jack hands kind of like big man hands like mine. And of course, Jack is a very young boy, so I needed him to make his hands smaller and a little more chubby. Uh, and once he got that down, it looked great. Again, lots of great color and shading makes this look like an awesome picture. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, there's my illustration, my drawing of Jack showing Zagaboo to his parents, and uh, and then this is the actual illustration that you see in the book. This one makes me laugh because Jack looks kind of like crazy. You know, he's got these big googly eyes and almost like a zombie or something. And so I kind of laugh about that one. Um, let's see, and let's move on to the next illustration. So this one is, or not the next illustration, but I want to show you who Jack actually looks like. I like all of my characters to look like real people in life that I know. And so what I did was I made Jack look like someone that I know. And this is him right here. So you can see this little boy right here looks very much like Jack in the book. And that was done on purpose. So I actually am a family member to this person right here. Now, if everyone is guessing that this is actually me, that would be wrong. No, it's not me. This is my brother. And this picture was actually taken a long, long time ago, like 48 years ago, something like that. Well, I'm only 43. I'm going to be 44 this month. So this picture was taken before I was even born. And you're going to see in the rest of my books too that I have pictures or the characters are look like people that I actually know in real life. You know, there's Rebecca, Charlie, Maddie. Then I've got in the new book, I've got some other characters in there that are family members and friends. And I'll tell you about those in another behind the scenes with Zagaboo. Let's see here. Let's move on to the next illustration. Okay, now this one's, I don't know, kind of interesting. You've got the parents watching Jack show them how brave he is now, and he's got little Zagaboo right here next to him while he milks the biggest cow on the farm. And this was a turning point for Jack. Jack became brave once he had Zagaboo with him, and that's what I want. I want Zagaboo to be able to help children how to become brave or how to do anything that they want to do. Now, kids already have this power inside of them. They just might need a little help to get it out. And that's what Zagaboo is there to do. Let's see. Next illustration. Okay, clippity clop, clippity clop. We've got our horses. They're trotting down the path towards town, and Charlie is with his dad. And they're going to deliver milk, ham, and eggs, I think, to the grocery stores. And he helps his dad actually steer the horses into town. So he's still being brave. And we needed to find out what the carts looked like actually back then. And so what I did was I went and I looked online, and I found an old cart from about the late 1890s. And I sent this illustration to my illustrator, Alan Boyles, at the time. And he took that and he turned it into the cart that you see in the book. So let's move on to the next illustration. And this is the last one that's in the book that I'm going to talk about today. And then we're going to move on to the next story, or the second part of the Legend of Zagaboo story. All right. Then, of course, we've got Zagaboo gets lost in the woods. In the initial drawing, I have Zagaboo laying here very close to the reader, closest to you and I who are reading the books. And that's how he is in this illustration as well. However, he's not quite as far away as in the pencil drawing, and I really wanted the readers to get a sense of how dark it is and beautiful it is at nighttime. And so I asked my illustrator to put a moon in the sky, add some stars, and then of course they needed light to be able to see because they were returning from town in the dark, so they needed a lantern, and that's why you see these extra lights over here. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me for the first reading of the first reading of the first part of the Zagaboo story, The Legend of Zagaboo. And I will be reading another section of this story, part two, on Behind the Scenes with Zagaboo next time. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I hope you guys really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed giving you the show. And I'll see you next time on Behind the Scenes with Zagaboo.